Okay.
It's going to be cheesy. You can
All right.
make fun of it. It's only 10 seconds, but here we go. Check 1, check 2. This is it. Welcome to the Cannabis Coffee Hour with your host, me, Rob Cantrell. I'm here in the streets of Soho, actually back in the back of a carriage house, and I have a wonderful guest. I just smoked a couple bowls. I picked up my buddy. He's hilarious. He has several books out there. He's actually going on tour with the band Tenacious D. He does comedy. He does music. He does fashion. He does astrology. He's out there. He's in here. Let's check him out. Mr. Dave Hill.
Oh, hey. How's it going, Rob?
Good,
we're,
man.
We're in the West Village. We're not in Soho.
Oh, okay.
Technically. Do you have to edit that out?
Hold on. Sorry.
We might have to start over. It goes to sleep.
It just goes to sleep and keeps
Uh-oh.
going. That's the front monitor. So I just have to hit it now and then. We're just learning this. You know, this is DIY, Dave, and I know you
Totally.
know all about DIY.
Tell me about it. Yeah, I'm a little too more DIY than I would like. But you know, sometimes you just got to do it. I mean, it's right there in the thing. Do it yourself.
You wanted to give it to other people, but you know the randomness of life is just so crazy that sometimes the simplest method is just doing it yourself, and that's how it gets done right.
Absolutely. I think when people, well, certainly with me, when I started in various endeavors, comedy, music, I started music first, but you always think like, oh, I gotta get someone to do everything, the manager, agent, and all that, and then you realize like, well, I gotta do everything, and then like once I'm doing everything, maybe someone else will come along and be like, I'll help you do that.
For a certain fee.
Kind of how it goes, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like how it goes, and sometimes paying for it is worth it. But sometimes, you know, in projects that I love, and that's with the Cannabis Coffee Hour. You know, I do this because I love coffee. I love
Me too.
some herb now and then, and I love hanging out with my buddies.
All good things combined. Are you a coffee connoisseur?
I would say so at this point in my life, and especially doing this podcast.
This is a horrifying thing I'm about to tell you, and it's I really like good coffee, but I hate to talk about the pandemic, but my girlfriend and I, we used to buy fancy coffee to make it home, and then we went to her mom's house in Ohio. We locked her apartment. We didn't like leave our apartment or anything, get rid of her. We just thought we'd go to visit her mom for a couple weeks until the mobile morgue was gone from our corner.
Right.
And we ended up being there a whole year for the most part. I came back here like once for a couple weeks, and then but her mom just had these like big things of Folgers, so we started just drinking Folgers, and then we were like, oh, this is fine, let's just do this. And now we're back here in New York, and we have delicious coffee from AD HOC on Christopher.
Oh, that place was great, man.
And,
they had a Marshall stack in there and everything.
Oh yeah, it's a sweet, awesome place. But at home, when we make it at home, we just make Folgers now.
Folgers is good, and you can get the medium roast. Do you get the big plastic, like those big plastic tubs?
We don't get the biggest one. We get I guess the next size down because we live in a New York apartment,
right?
So we just buy it at the corner, and that's the one thing where we were in Ohio. Her mom had this massive kitchen, and it's really messing with my girlfriend's head now because we're back here now in what by New York standards would be considered to be an amazing, pretty big apartment.
Yes.
And after living in a house in the middle of town of 3,000 people in Ohio for a year, she's like, So I'm like, no, that's great. We can, let's go get chicken wings for $100.
Yep. And let's just be right next to each other, and this is how we do it. And everything's small, everything's mini.
Yeah.
And you're standing on, in millions and millions of people here in New York. How long have you been in New York City? When I came here in 2005, you were here.
I was already here. I was waiting for you.
You were waiting for me, rocking out the guitar.
I went to college here, and then I went home for the weekend. This is a big popular move with me. When I go home for the weekend, you have to be very careful because I might not come back.
Yeah.
So I went home for the weekend, maybe a year after college, and I just didn't come back for several years. And then I came back here for the weekend in 2003, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah.
But I never moved back here. I was just here for the weekend. I just never went back. Gradually just got new stuff.
Yep. I've thrown everything into a dumpster and burned it all down a few times in my life, and it's very freeing. And being an artist and a musician, you do have to just roll with your guitar case and a couple amps and a duffel bag of books and underwear, and that's kind of your life.
I know. I want to get back down to that. And that's my problem is now I have so much stuff. It's closing in on me.
You got a couple big armoires?
I really do. And it's very overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it's when you have too much stuff, then you can't appreciate it. Like you can't wear all your favorite T-shirts because you have too many.
Too many.
So I'm like, what if I got it down to 20 instead of 200?
Yep.
Then I would just be rocking all my favorite shirts, like this Otoboke Beaver shirt.
Oh, wow. What's that all about?
It's one of my favorite bands, a band from Japan. They're great.
Oh, sick.
And
Shinoa Knife, that's a band.
Shonen Knife?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are they a lot? Yeah.
They have something in common. Well, Shonen Knife is 3 women. Otoboke Beaver is 4 women. Mm-hmm. And both great bands. And so maybe...
But is it Japanese bands?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been to Japan?
I have been to Japan.
Oh, shit.
It's I want to go back. I feel like the universe is calling me back there. Somehow.
I could see them digging your style, my man.
I want to go. My band Valley Lodge toured Japan in 2009. It was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And
oh, Lord.
When I came back from that tour, I was so jet lagged. And right before I went on when I was on the tour, my friend John Kimbrough from Valley Lodge, OG, was 2 of us formed the van. And we were in Japan touring, and he was like, oh, you got to get this 4-track app that lets you record, right there in the name, 4-track on your phone. So I started messing around with it on the Japanese tour, and then I got back from the tour, and I had horrible jet lag. So I was just I don't know if you've been to Australia or Asia or whatever, but
I haven't, but I've been to Asia. Yeah, long flights are crazy. I have been to Japan.
Whenever I go, you have. Oh, so you have been?
Yeah, I did Okinawa. I did a military camp. I did stand up. It was me and 3 other comedians, and I did a Marine camp, and I went over there. But on the last episode, you could talk on this. Is that I'm not huge on I think people should smoke pot when they want. I think everybody has their own vibe. And psychedelics are getting really popular right now. But what I always say is going to other countries is literally like tripping acid naturally. And especially
oh my gosh,
Japan.
1000% Japan. I mean, it was such a... but let me, before I forget, this is what I was going to say, and then I want to answer that, or speak to that, or whatever.
The vibe.
So I was jet lagged, and I had this 4-track app, and I was back from Japan for a few days. I woke up in the middle of the night, 4 in the morning, and I had this a song in my head that was da 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 ba da 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 da. I have the 4-track right here, and that song, I woke up, and I did the whole song just making mouth noises on my phone, and then and then that song ended up being the song Go, that is the theme of the John Oliver show.
I know, that theme is amazing, and
thank you.
And that is amazing. Like, you have so many things out there, whether it's books, whether it's music, whether it's comedy, whether it's written word, that is so subversively successful. And that's one of them. That's wild that you came up with that riff. Is that... But when you said that in R.I.P. Tony Bennett, that's what went down today. It kind of was there any horns? Or is that synth? Is that guitar? It sounds like guitar rock music in the theme, but when it was in your head.
It is, but the thing that does the main sound, I don't even know if I could do it again. It is like the there's a riff, that's guitar. Right. And then there's on top of that. And that I did with like these pedals that I'll never figure out how to do it again. I just did it once and I'll never be able to do it again. And that's how I got that sound. And there's like a little piano. And it just, when I record, I always make like a mush that's like 3 sounds meant to be 1 sound. And like that's what that sound is. Anyway, but.
That's cool, man.
So the Japan, though, I totally agree. Like, I was just blown away. Everything, I loved it so much. And like everything in Japan, you go like, well, that's different. Let me think about that. And then you go like, oh, it's better. Like everything you go like, oh, that's different. What are they? Oh, that's way better way to do it. Like, and then just like, oh.
Puff shrimp chips.
Everything. Like even like, I mean, it's pretty much everywhere now that we have like just basic, like you stay in a hotel and they have the soap and the shampoo. They have the things in the shower. Yes. But like I'd never seen it before. I toured over there, and I was like, oh, that's so smart. It's so less wasteful to just have the things, what are they called?
A dispenser's right there. Yeah, you're cutting like 7 steps.
Rather than like, oh, here's your little bottles of bullshit. And then, and now you see it all the time. And then like the Japanese toilets, don't even get me started.
Don't even get me started. I have hit some of those, yeah.
I have one. Now, I don't have the full electric one in my house, in my apartment, but I have like the low rent version of it.
I do too. It's just a wet rag. And I just I'm just kidding. That's the original bidet. But no, I'm a huge fan. I got like 20 minutes of material on how wonderful the bidet is.
I milked it myself. Yeah.
Yeah, like, everybody's got to.
You have to. And then
it's just the American way is wrong. Not wrong, but as you said, like I'm getting really, during the pandemic, I've been meditating. I didn't do it before the shoot. I had a lot of like getting over here, and we weren't sure if it's raining. Thank God everything's working out great.
Yeah, it's lovely.
But it's kind of like a Zen culture over there. Like they've always dealt with like minimalism and like trying to keep things as simple as possible.
Oh, totally.
And flow.
And then just like, you go on the subway there, and like here, you know, who knows what's going to happen when you're on the subway.
You could be stabbed with a wrench. You could hang out with a cello player.
It's all fun things, don't get me wrong.
All fun things, you never know.
There, like, people get on the train and just absolute sound. Like, if we were talking like this loud on the subway in Japan, we would look like crazy people.
Completely
like
rude.
People are just quiet. A lot of times they just close their eyes and wait, you know, until they're stopped. It's so peaceful. They have ads hanging just like with clips, just pieces of paper. No one tears them down, because why would you do that?
Yeah.
And then I even have pictures on my phone of this. Like when people walk up this, they walk like everyone's walking up on one side in a line on the right, and then if no one's coming down on the left, no one runs up the left side. They're just like, oh, no one's coming. It's order.
It's very orderly. They respect the order of nature, you know, and I think it's kind of
different.
like...
I wasn't making a Law and Order. I would say the order of nature, exactly. That's what...
I think, it's kind of like that subversive, and I've been doing that with, like, Taoism in terms of instead of fighting everything and forcing everything, it's kind of what yielding is. It's kind of like, you kind of just, like, go with the flow, and the flow of life is just like, okay, the dad knows a little bit more. It's like nobody's rebelling. That's the one thing that's cool about America. We got rock and roll, and we will rebel. But right now, it's kind of messing up. Not messing up everything. I think we're all evolving. But over there, it's just everything runs a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping my friend Steve Powers, who's known as the artist Espo, He has a great shop in, I guess it's Park Slope, or is it Gowanus maybe?
Cool.
On 4th Avenue. He's a graffiti artist turned like sign painter and fine artist.
Yeah,
He's
I know
over
the 4th.
You got to Espo's Art World.
Yeah, I think I know where it is.
Yeah, it's like on the way to like Littlefield and all that. An amazing shop.
Yeah.
And he just opened a shop in Tokyo, and he's over there now, and he just texted me. He's like, I got an apartment here. I'm going to go 2 weeks a month for the next 10 months. And he didn't say to come over, but I'm taking it to mean come over.
I got a bunk bed. Come on over, Dave.
Yeah.
But there's gigs over there, and there's culture, and yeah, it has to be. Yeah, nobody says you have to be in America, especially nowadays with the internet and how everybody's just flying about. I know a lot of people that are relocating to Mexico City. That seems to be kind of popping off.
I'm jealous of that.
Yeah, I don't. That's like a trend in like adult life of mine. Like I've heard of people like moving down there
Like
for
comedians,
a couple. No,
or
not
just people,
regular
like
people. I haven't heard any
people with their shit together.
with their shit together. I haven't heard comedians, no, but I have heard artists. Like I think there's like an arts. I think there's something everywhere if you just post up, you know.
Yeah, my girlfriend and I talk about that a lot, of like going somewhere else, especially.
I could see you in Europe, or you're saying Japan, like Asia.
I would totally move to Japan if I could. You know, maybe, or I don't know.
Why not a couple years? Yeah.
I don't. This is so stupid, but the only thing is like I have so many guitars. And I'm like, what would I do? I'd have to put them in my brother's attic or something.
That's the thing about guitars.
I'm like, what do I do? I have so many stupid guitars. Like,
how many guitars do you have right now, dude?
I don't even know. Maybe 20.
35?
No.
25.
25 tops.
That's a lot, though. Cases for each of those?
Most of them, and like it's become like.
You got a storage space?
No, because I don't believe in storage space. Because I'm like, if you're gonna store it, just get rid of it. You know?
Yeah, my buddy has like 3 that's a musician, and I'm like, what are you doing? But he rents out equipment and speakers.
Yeah,
he does all that shit.
I have a lot of, but it's to the point I genuinely have too many guitars now, and I need to get rid of some. And like,
I'll take one.
I'll sell you one if you want to come over. I'll sell you one today.
I have an acoustic. I've been playing. I would love to get a guitar lesson from you, dude. I'm just trying to learn bar chords. Like, I guess I learned, you know, I'm very novice. I learned with these fingers, and now I'm learning that was dumb. I need to learn with these back 3 so I can bar it up. Right?
Oh, yeah. But it's not that hard. Like, once you get past that hurdle, like, it's like, it's not even, you wouldn't even. Bar chords are the easiest thing you can do on the guitar.
That's what everybody says, but it feels so awkward.
It's so awkward, but once you move past that, like, then you're like, oh, how was that even?
Then you're riding the lightning.
Yeah, then you're riding. I mean, but guitar is an endless thing in a good way and a bad way. But like, and I really like. I've gotten more into it in recent years because I think with doing like comedy and like writing books or whatever, like. You're so far up your own ass all the time, like, and they're like, "Oh, does this work like that?" And then you say it in front of people, and they're like, "That's not no." and then, but with a guitar, you can sit down and be like, work on something. You're like, "Oh, that's Crazy Train," you know, and then it's like a physical thing, and you're like, you can work at it, and so it's like, it's not. I really like having something like that in my life. But then you go,
I think it's the best.
Like the other night, I went to see a friend. Well, I just met him. Like now we're instant friends. I consider Jason Laughlin, this great guitar player, and Jeff Meckerlane, if I'm saying that right. These two great. They're like, sell all your guitars and use the money to break your fingers good. You know.
Yeah.
And so like. Jason's like, oh, come out and play a song. They're playing out in Williamsburg, and I'm like, oh, I'm pretty good on, you know, like, and then I watch these guys. I'm like, oh man, I don't know how to tune this thing even, you know? But it's that sort of thing. Like you can just.
That's how life is crazy that way, you know. It's just like, especially with art, it's like there's always somebody better, especially in something as old as the guitar, because it's just been around.
And it's like. It's funny, like, not to But my therapist, like, he's just like, can you
Shout out therapist.
But I started seeing this guy recently. He's been very helpful to me.
Nice.
But like, he's like, can you say what you're good at and say it convincingly to me? And he's like, that's not very convincing. And then he made a good point. He's like, you can say you're good at something and acknowledge that there's people that are way better. And I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, it can be both. I'm like, oh yeah. So, because with the guitar, I go like, oh, I'm okay. But it's like, I'm like, oh no, I'm really good. And then there's other levels, but I can at least feel good about being good.
You're amazing,
That's
dude.
progress.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you ride the lightning in terms of. I remember we did do a long time ago. I've known you for a while. We've always been cool. But I went to your old apartment and you played some Billy Squier off the riff that I enjoyed.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I think I made you play some.
Oh, okay. You must have made me.
Yeah, I must have played you.
That
Yeah,
wouldn't have just come out unrequested.
yeah, it was requested.
No offense to Billy Squier. Much respect.
Yeah, Lonely as the Night. I was into.
Oh yeah.
Lonely as the Night. But lately I've been listening to it and it doesn't hit the same.
Well, you know what's weird about Billy Squier? These are things I've realized in my old age. When Billy Squier was like on the radio, you know, contemporary hits,
Mm-hmm. Stroke Me.
My favorite band to this day is Led Zeppelin. And that was the first band when I was like 7 years old. My dad bought Led Zeppelin 4 and I was like, whoa.
Black Dog.
This is next level, so much cooler than anything else
Sticks.
I've ever heard before. Scaring me. It's so good.
Stairway to Heaven.
And so into it, hardcore ever since I was 12.
Wow.
Well, no, like into it from 7, and then 12, I was like all in. Just encyclopedic every album. And then somehow I never noticed that Billy Squier was basically just trying to write Led Zeppelin songs.
That's what it was. It was like I was into Zeppelin, and then I heard somebody played Lonely as the Night, and I wasn't 70s rock guru, and I was like, oh, that's Zeppelin. And
yeah,
then
it's totally that's completely someone like being like, I'm gonna try to write a Zeppelin riff, and it's a cool
felt
song.
like it was like, remember back in the day, like Hey What Can I Do? That was like a B-side. Only if you were a real Zeppelin fan you knew about Hey What Can I Do?
Yeah,
because it was only on like a vinyl, and like some older brother that used to sell weed would get you that tune.
Yeah.
Hey what?
And then the other thing I'll say I never realized, around the same age, I never realized how much reggae was in like rock and pop music. That would like from The Clash to like Culture Club, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me, first single.
Wow, I never thought of that.
Is a reggae song.
Yeah.
And I never, as a kid, I never heard it that way, and then as an adult I go back and I'm like, oh my god, like the Police, all these people were just ripping off reggae. That's all they were all doing it, and it never occurred to me.
Dire Makers, all reggae. You know, yeah, reggae is...
Yeah, Dire Maker.
I've done some episodes from Jamaica on this podcast.
No, really?
Yeah, and we had Perry Hazel's daughter on here.
Perry Hazel, he's the director of The Harder They Come?
Yep, and they did Harder They Come at Joe's Theater, and I went to it, and I had got an interview with the director. Daughter, we had her on the Cannabis Coffee Hour.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that movie. I watched that movie.
Such a great movie.
There are certain movies.
The play, it was at Joe's Pub. It was amazing.
They did a play of it?
Yeah, it was like almost like a cooler, better Hamilton. It was sick, and it was all reggae.
I bet. Well, that's not, I didn't come here to shit on Hamilton, but...
Yeah, that's easy.
I
liked it.
I saw him. Well, you're a rapper.
Yeah, I love hip hop. You know me. I'm a hip hop hippie in my soul. That's what I love hip hop,
but I kind of checked out. I checked out like a long time ago.
That's all right. It's a lot of ego.
Yeah, that's what I'm not into. I was more into the exuberant years of Public Enemy.
Totally.
And NWA, and then I feel like it shifted to ego, and I was like, oh, I'm out.
Yep.
And So I've been out for about almost 30 years.
Yeah, that's all right. It's a taste. I'm in and out. I listen to mostly classic. I do listen to a lot of Grateful Dead. Not to bum you out.
I like Grateful Dead. I have nothing against them.
Yeah.
They have jams.
They're good American rock and roll band.
Yeah, but the harder they come, like. Well,
we were talking about reggae, but reggae's great to smoke weed to. So if you're a musician, like those guys in Led Zeppelin, they were like 25, and then Bob Marley came out, and then the tempo. If you like bass and you like to bring your blood pressure down,
yeah, I love it. I mean, I still like, I'll go running, ride my bike, listen to Lee Scratch Perry and King Tubby and all that.
Yeah,
and like
deep dub,
and then
good
like
for your heart.
Oh my gosh. Hamilton, very quickly, like, you know, obviously I'm in the minority, but my girlfriend and I went to see it. We'd gotten amazing tickets for free. And we're like, oh, we're finally seeing this thing that's supposed to be the greatest thing that's ever happened. And we're like, oh my God, it's so good. Oh, it's just, look at beautiful. And then after a little while, we're like, so that's just like they're rapping. I get it. Okay. And then there was an intermission where like, how you doing? I'm like, hi, I'm, and then it just kind of like, it's 3 hours long. And by the time we got out of there, we were both like, fuck that.
Yeah.
That's like, no, 20 minutes would have been fine. And then we were like, are we unable to appreciate art? Like, is something wrong with us? And then we went to the opera the following week, 3 hours. We're like, amazing. We're like, no, we just have good taste. That's all. No, I don't know.
My dad loved opera. My dad was from like the backwoods of Virginia, so I appreciate classical music. I talked about. I went through Prospect Park the other day on a random, and I had an edible, and it was the Philharmonic were playing. Dude, I walked in. Guess what they were playing the #1 jam. They were playing Beat It for the classical music. Almost. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant they were literally playing Beat It.
That would be cool. But no, they were playing their Beat It. Like classical, like everything that was once modern music. Everything's moving so fast. Like
totally.
You listen to old hip hop. I'm almost like bummed that I say I'm into hip hop because all the young people are like, you listen to that. I love the older, the better. Cole Cash Brothers, The Message, Grandmaster Flash, Houdini,
Curtis Blow
all day.
I met Curtis Blow. He's like a minister.
Yeah.
Uptown. Yeah, I went to this hip hop mass. It was amazing. And then
he's a good dude. I seen him perform. I saw him do the breaks at the King's Theater for like a hip hop Christmas that I took my family to. It was like I'm into it, dude. Like I was into. I mean, Hamilton. Much respect. I mean, everything got super hyped.
I sort of like to shit on it because I realize it's just
everybody's shitting on it right now. It is kind of I think the younger people are going cringe.
I just found it really cringy. Like it seemed like your gym teacher rapping to try to connect with the youth. Like it seemed like really like just hacky shit. But But I'm realizing, and
I'm in the middle of the road for it, but it is too much.
I was telling a friend, and she was like, "Well, you saw like a later cast, like probably the first cast was pretty compelling, and maybe, but I don't know." Let's go back to The Harder They Come now.
Yeah, let's go back to Harder They Come, and I want to talk about your big tour you're going on.
Oh yeah, The Harder They Come though. That's one of those. There's certain movies that, and this really happened to me during the pandemic of like getting so into movies where I just watch them over and over again, and like knowing that I'm gonna fall asleep, and like, but I just want to like kind of get into that world. And The Harder They Come is one of those movies. I also like to watch Rockers. Do you know that one?
Yes, I do. No, well, I know the soundtrack. I've never sat down and watched it.
That's a good one.
They have it's like 10 of the best reggae songs ever. But I was talking on this podcast, I love music documentaries, and what I used to fall asleep was Last Waltz. I used to put that, I had that on video, and the Last Waltz with the band, like that opening number at Winterland, Baby, don't you do it, don't do it. Mm-hmm. I love that joint.
Yeah. Jams.
Jams. Speaking of jams, you're going on tour. Dave is actually going on tour with Tenacious D, dude.
Yeah,
How many dates?
I'm excited.
This is huge.
I think it's 6 or 7 dates over 10 days. Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm going to open the shows and go out.
How big theaters are we talking about?
I think they're pretty big. Like, I think they're like 10,000.
Oh, wow.
So it's a lot of getting pelted in the head with objects if things don't go well.
That's all right. You got a bike helmet that you might have.
I could have the helmet, so I'll be okay.
You're gonna melt their face, dude. I mean, because you have an electric guitar.
Yeah, I'll rip some solos when in doubt. I mean, in my shows, when I have when I go around town, I don't always do this if I'm just doing like 10 minutes. But if I'm doing, on tour, I have my guitar, and so I'll talk sometimes. I'll talk and play guitar sometimes. Sometimes I'll just rip some solos.
Yeah.
And it's just a fun. And I know sometimes.
Do you have an orange amp? I love those.
What is it?
Those orange amps.
I do have. I have an orange half stack, but I won't bring it on the tour.
Oh.
Because it's too big.
Okay.
But I do have one. And I'll probably just use like a little amp modeler, which is very sad but easy.
It just plugs in. You're not bringing your Marshall stack and riding the light.
No, I don't think I'll do that.
Yeah.
Because I'm lean and mean, and I'm I got
lean and mean DIY.
Fly on planes and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I said fly on planes like I might fly on some other thing.
A spaceship.
A spaceship. But
helicopter.
Yeah, I'll do that, and then I guess if the talking part's not going well, I'll just go back to ripping solos. 6
solos.
And, when in doubt.
Is Eddie still your guru? Is Eddie
Van Halen?
Yeah.
He's one of them. He's one of my favorites. I mean, Jimmy Page is my main favorite guitar player, but Eddie Van Halen, I think.
Jimmy Page is cooler than Eddie.
Yeah, I mean.
But Van Halen's Van Halen.
Van Halen's amazing, and I think some people I've always been like an omnivorous or whatever in terms of music, whatever the word would be. Like, I think sometimes people think I only listen to like metal or something, which is, I think if you listen to metal, people, because I do it to other people as well, I think I'm like, oh, you only listen to metal, but I've listened to everything. But I think people that are like, they throw Eddie Van Halen in where they're like, oh, he's part of this thing that is not, maybe they're like, I only like Pavement or whatever. But I love Pavement, but like, Eddie Van Halen, I think
it's
is
very
just
mainstream, not all.
Yeah, but he's a genius. Like I feel like when he plays, it transcends the instrument. You're just like, he's like hovering, he's like levitating in this way that even other virtuosos have never.
He was making different sounds. Yeah, he was different.
It's other things. So
it was almost Suzuki method. It was like violin-esque, like very complex.
Just totally crazy and like fun and just like, I don't know. And like, I sort of within comedy, I've sort of gotten into, because then what's weird thing with comedy, like in playing the guitar, like you think like, well, it's not funny to be good, but then I realize like, oh, but it's funny to be really good.
Yeah.
And so like that's why I've sort of gotten more into like stupid. I love tapping. I don't think it's
But you're the best. Yeah, I would say I've seen a lot of guitar comedy, and you are the best. I mean, I think you could hold. Yeah. And then Tenacious D, they're acoustic.
Yeah, but they're amazing.
Blow them away on the guitar.
Well, they're amazing, and they have John Koneski on guitar, who's one of the biggest.
You can't fuck with that first album they did.
He's such a great player.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're great, and
their vocals are.
I mean, them
ridiculous.
And like, they're both such great singers, and then so funny, and I think funny. I think it's really hard to be really funny and then also have really great songs, which they accomplish.
Yeah.
Like to where you're like you can listen to Wonder Boy or Tribute or whatever and be like, this is hilarious, but you're like, it's a fucking really good song. And then, I think Flight of the Conchords are same thing. They tick both boxes really well.
They're really good songwriters, yeah.
Yeah.
The Flight of the Conchords, and they definitely work. Yeah, but it's two
And
different
Craig
vibes.
Robinson, I think he's also
dude.
really great musician.
He's been on the
and
podcast.
super funny.
Yeah,
at
super
the same
funny.
time.
He's in talking to him, he talks like you talk like a musician. Like I know Dave for the Cannabis Coffee Hour. Dave doesn't even smoke weed, but he's kind of
I
has a
did.
weed flavor.
I did once.
Once, and it threw you off.
No, well, people always, ever since, high school or whatever, very quickly, I'll give you my whole weed history.
Yeah.
But I was always, my parents never said anything about drugs, but somehow I totally subscribed to that, like 80s, like after school special, drugs, or you're gonna jump off a building if you do any drugs, and
Yeah, I
all
didn't
this.
smoke pot in high school. It was for our generation. There was a lot of cocaine deaths. Like the first death
Yeah.
I remember was John Belushi. That was like
Yeah.
the first celebrity death, and I was like young, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of scary.
Yeah, I was terrified, and like in grade school I was terrified. A couple kids like smoke pot, and I was like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
they're gonna be in prison. And then I went to high school, and this is a bit of a brag. I made the varsity hockey team my freshman year.
Killer.
So I was playing with all these juniors and seniors, and like I don't know if it's still this way today, but pot was like very popular hockey thing
Yeah,
to
it's
do.
a lot of Canadians like weed, like they like Labatt's beer.
Yeah, so like there was tons of, a lot of the kids would be smoking weed or
Yeah.
showing up
A little bit high.
reeking of pot
Yeah.
at practice at 6 a.m. So, and I was
Sounds
getting
like fun.
I was getting hazed like really badly.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't show that this bothers me at all. So I got over my fear of drugs like instantly, completely. Like I would just out of survival. I was like, if I act like this bothers me, they're gonna seize on it. So boom, stopped.
Right.
And then
Non-judgment. I love it.
yeah, and I just let go of it, and then like in an instant, and then I got into college, and then all my friends were smoking pot, and then they would talk about how that made them feel, and they talk about mushrooms, how that and I would always be like, this is how I already feel. Like everything you're telling me is every day for me. Like I don't know why someone would do something to feel that way, because I'm there. And then so I was like, hey, it's not for me. And then finally, about 5 years ago, my girlfriend and I were invited to her friend's wedding in Jamaica, and I was being like a real stick in the mud or whatever. I was like, and
Yeah.
and then
travel, weird. Yeah.
Yeah, then
Different people.
I was just like, why am I being so lame? I should be fully on board with this wedding. So I decided I would be super Jamaican wedding guy, and I bought like board shorts, and I went to every activity, and I drank Red Stripe all day, and I was like, oh, I've still never smoked pot in my life. I should, I'll smoke some pot. So, one day, the day before the wedding, I smoked a joint, and I thought everyone at the wedding would be smoking pot. No one was. It seemed like I smoked, and by the way, like literally every guy you meet in Jamaica will try to sell. In my experience, my limited experience, you cannot meet any guy, and they will try to sell you weed. Every single guy I met.
It's ganja. Yeah.
Yeah, every single guy I met. It did not matter who, where, or when. And then, so I bought some, and I smoked a joint, and then I smoked 2 bowls by myself. I smoked all of this all
That's
at
a
once.
lot of weed.
Well, because I was like, today's the day.
I'm gonna get
I'm
fired
going to
up.
go hard. I'm not
Yeah.
just going to have a couple hits. And so I smoked all this weed in the course of, within an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, this is exactly what I thought. It's just me more.
Yeah.
Like I'm detached, isolated.
Mhm.
I don't care about anything. It was all like kind of my like antisocial qualities amplified, and I was just like, I don't like this. I didn't feel paranoid, but I was just like, not for me.
Yeah.
And I sat, and I just like, my girlfriend was going to get her hair done, and I just sat in bed, like watched Dumb and Dumber, and I had these like really high thoughts, I'm guessing, like where I was like, this is so sad. Why do we humans, why do we get high and drink and do all this stuff? Why can't we enjoy life? And then so I was like, even being stoned, I was like, that seems like a really stoned thing. I was just thinking, even though I think it's accurate. But and then I just started drinking beer because I was like, I know what it is to be drunk. And I drank a bunch of beer, and then my girlfriend and I went to dinner. And the next morning I woke up like, and I called my brother. I'm like, I'm in Jamaica. I'm having a massive anxiety attack. And he's like, why? I'm like, I got stoned for the first time last night, and then I drank like 10 beers. He's like, what? You just got stoned for the first time in your life? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all that touring, playing in bands, doing comedy, going all over the world, you've never smoked pot? I'm like, no. And he's like, you're kidding. I'm like, no. So, and then I ran 4 miles barefoot on the beach just to like regulate myself.
Yeah.
Anyway, all that being said, very pro-weed.
Yeah, you got a pro-weed vibe, and it's not for everybody, and I think I definitely don't think people should smoke it in high school, but, you know, I'm trying not to judge, and I'm trying to kind of go through life and be in the moment, and I think that's what you were talking about. Why can't we just be peaceful and not so violent in the world? And I do think weed and mushrooms kind of bring, you know, that inner hippie out. And, you know, as much as it's getting kind of sketchy out there with so much weed on the streets of New York City, I do think it amplifies awareness. And the awareness is where we can come together, you know, and even being able to walk away from it. Even people like that ate mushrooms once, I think they're a little bit better off. Like there's something empathetic that goes on, whereas I think with drinking, my ego would go even, you know, I wouldn't even think my ego would be running the whole camp when I'm drinking, you know?
Yeah, the drinking is like, I don't know, especially as I get older, like, and you have so many mutual friends like, oh, I quit, and then I still drink, but like,
you enjoy it. You've always had like a couple cocktails, like you've always been kind of a gentleman's drinker.
Yeah, I don't, but sometimes I'll go off the rails. Mm-hmm. You know, my girlfriend will tell you.
The wine is really good, like, yeah, and if you're on the road and you end up just like, man, I'm just going to get wine sloshed here.
Yeah, sometimes
do you do it for sleep? Like, for weed, that's another thing for me. Like, I was sick last week. I had a little bit of a cold, and I couldn't sleep because I wasn't smoking pot. And then I started smoking pot again, and I was getting like 7 hours again, you know, just like crushing good sleep.
Yeah, I find like, I don't know, like, I find, I mean, this is like, you know, getting back into therapy, and I find a lot of it, I do it as like a habit where I'm like, oh, it's like 7 o'clock or it's after a show or whatever, and after the show you're like, I feel good, and you're like, I can't feel good, I better temper that down, or I feel bad, I can't feel bad, I gotta temper that down. So, so sometimes it's just like pushing down how I feel, and then sometimes I just like it. Like last night, I had a couple dainty glasses of wine, which would normally be like, okay, that's good, but then my girlfriend went to bed, and this is, I'm always I'm very I easily influenced. We've been watching Peaky Blinders. We started watching that, and every problem with watching almost any show, Succession, Peaky Blinders, like. Yeah. Every scene, someone's like pouring a glass of whiskey, and you're like, "Oh, that looks delicious." So we kept watching Peaky Blinders, and I'm like, "I'm gonna pour myself some whiskey," and so I had gave him like a finger of it, and then I was like, "I'm just gonna have a little bit more." Yeah, I'm like, it's delicious,
bloody.
But then you can have, then you can tell yourself that for the whole bottle, but
yeah, that drunk buzz is really like fuzzy and warm, and once it starts going, there's that other voice that kicks in like, yeah, man, let's go.
Yeah, let's feel this way forever. And then you wake up the next day and you're like, oh,
I'm almost 50.
Yeah, so I don't know. So I'm definitely like going back and forth where I'm like, maybe it's time to hang up.
No, I think so much stuff is damn if you do, damn if you don't. And lately I've just been like, you just got to do what's good for you and try to make a smart move, you know? So, you know, maybe you can have that one scotch, you know, and then try to like...
not like, I mean, and also getting older physically, I just can't. A few weeks ago, my girlfriend and I were back in Ohio, and her brother-in-law belongs to this, like, boat club. They all have their boats, and they, like, polish their boats and drink beer and hang out. And sometimes they take the boats out, but it seems like most people don't take the boats anywhere.
They just be boating.
And he invited me down. He's like, oh, we're going to go drink some beer. It's, like, in the middle of the afternoon. I'm like, all right, I'll do that. And I went, and I was like, I'll have a couple beers. And then I see everyone just keep having beers. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just have a beer every time someone gets a beer. And I drank like 7 million beers. And I came home, my girlfriend's like, the next day she's like, I've never seen you that drunk ever. I was just, and this is like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, like, I just wanted to see what it was like to just hang out and just drink as much as everyone was drinking. And I can't do it.
I know. I think sometimes when you're not an artist, like, we drink and smoke pot. Like, I smoke pot. Like, we're always doing shit. So I think some people that don't do shit, or they're just not living their passion, where they're kind of working 9 to 5, like, just sitting around drinking beers is like them. That's what they do.
Yeah, I can't, like, I don't touch anything until I don't write a word, I don't perform, I don't play the guitar, I don't draw, I won't do anything if I won't drink for any of it. It's only when everything's done. Then I'm like, okay. Like,
then it's a wild man time.
I might play a little guitar after a beer, but that's it. Like, I paint a lot at home, and I won't do the most basic thing if I've had anything to drink.
Yeah, it's two different vibes.
Yeah.
And I think once you get into creative world, it is kind of a Zen thing, which I love, is kind of, I don't know, it kind of builds on itself. And you kind of want to get lost in that building. I always say in this podcast, the dopest thing in life is making something out of nothing. And that's where the real life magic is. Yeah. And that moment, you know, you don't have to be drunk or hot. Like, you just got to, it's not about you. Like, you're kind of trying to remove yourself and kind of flow with it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I totally feel that way. Like what did I do what did I make today? Even if it's just like some fun little thing around my apartment or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Dave has designed dresses. I've seen you design dresses. How many books have you written? We can wrap it up. We're after 45 minutes. I always say 45 minutes, and then I put some beats on here.
Yeah, put some beats.
I make some beats.
You got great beats. I love your music and your rapping and your...
Oh, thank you, Dave.
Your story about, as you know, because I made you retell it several times, I think, the story about seeing the Fat Boys... And who else did you see?
Oh, dude, it was the
12?
Fresh Fest. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was the very first hip-hop arena tour, and it was Run DMC on their first album when they're like 19 years old,
Amazing.
on their second album. And then it was the Fat Boys at their height, and that's like the song Human Beatbox. And then it was Houdini. And Houdini is just known amongst hip-hop dudes as like the cool... there was nothing gangster about them, but they were like one of the first that I remember going to people's... I don't know, it seemed like the grown folks liked it and the kids liked it. Like, they were smooth and cool, but not dirty. And they have a song called One Love. They got a song called Friends, which, you know, Jay-Z's sampled. Like, everybody samples Houdini. And they're, like, originally from Brooklyn. But they didn't blow up mainstream, like, as big as Run DMC. But that album, they did Freaks Come Out at Night, which is one of the best.
Freaks Come Out at Night.
A sick beat. If you want to go listen to a sick beat, listen to the Freaks Come Out at Night beat.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I saw that concert, and that was like seeing something out of like, it must have been a lot like Led Zeppelin's the same way. Like, there was something mystical. Like, it wasn't just a tune. You know, Led Zeppelin's just not music. There's a whole other thing going on.
It's transcendent. That's what I could feel when I was 7 years old. I was just like, what is happening?
You know, that's not Winger. Yeah.
No, I was like afraid to... I loved it, but I was like afraid to be in the room alone with it. It was that powerful to me.
You're touching into something. Heard it. Yeah.
And I felt that way other times. The first time I heard Bad Brains, I felt that way.
Yeah.
And, you know, I felt like, and with hip hop, like, your story like is so powerful and so funny, and like I remember just feeling that same way, like going to see. I was little of like, I went to see
Crew?
Public Enemy.
Oh shit.
Public Enemy, Slick Rick, Big Daddy Kane, and LL Cool J.
It was one of those early tours.
Yeah,
That
it
was
was
like the next year. Yeah.
88 maybe.
Yep.
And going with my friends to the Richfield Coliseum, and like, I mean, we felt like we were pretty cool because we're like, we're the only white kids here. Like, we're the only kids cool enough to be here from our school. Like,
yeah, totally.
And like Flava Flav's just walking around, and this pre-reality TV, any of that shit. Like, Flava Flav, we were just like, who's this magical, fucking amazing guy? Like, and like, and he's
the energy was crazy.
The energy was nuts. Like,
the energy, Public Enemy is just
believe, like, and he was just walking around the floor, and he had this giant pencil that was taller than him, like like 3 inches in diameter, just like walking around like this staff or whatever. And it was just like, we met him and we're just like, oh my god, like this is the guy. And like, and this concert was just so fucking crazy, and so
the beats were so insane, and the bass is so insane, but their stuff is like high-end art, especially when they came out. One cool thing, if you want to check out, is Flavor Flav playing classical piano. That's what's been making the rounds. But he's a classic pianist. I see what they were like. Long Island college radios guys.
Yeah, from
that would
like
freestyle on air.
They're from Hempstead, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, they were like. Yeah, amazing. I remember just like hearing that, and then like
I was listening to some producers like talk about them making beats. Like, you'll never hear, just because of sampling and like computers, but you'll never hear presentation and production like that ever again. Like the Bomb Squad, like how they constructed beats.
Yeah, it was so cool, and just like having the riffs with it, like dude, so sophisticated. Like like the riffs were like.
That tune is Vernon Reid. Vernon Reid does that riff. I love that riff. That's one of my favorite riffs. That's on their first album. It's called Sophisticated BITCH. And it's not the most progressive song of our age.
No.
But the music, but the beat is one of the illest of all time.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, such a great.
And Vernon Reid is just from Living Color, a great guitarist, who I met on W. Kamau Bell's show one time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's
I've never met him.
He's around.
I know. I feel like I should have crossed paths with him now, but I haven't.
I could talk to you forever, because I also know that you date Salt and Pepper, or like
no.
There was some rumor going around, like one of the TLC girls or one of the Salt and Pepper girls, like you did gigs with them, or you worked with them one time.
This is what happened.
Yeah.
For a few years I was hired by like AMC networks to go to Sundance and do like interviews with people, that they would make these little interstitials that they would put on their networks. And one of the years Peppa was there from Salt and Peppa. She had a show like Growing Up Hip Hop with her daughter that she was on, and I met her and we hit it off, and just platonically.
Yeah.
And but then at the time, so we did this interview, and she had been asked, she's like, can I have Hennessy? And there's no Hennessy, and they sent a PA out to get Hennessy. And so we took a picture at the end of the interview, and then I was running to do like this other shoot right after, so I had to change. The PA comes back finally with the Hennessy, so you had to like run out and find Hennessy and at Sundance. And so he comes back, and and I was like, hey, I know this is really lame, but can I have the Hennessy and bring it to her? I really want to take credit for this. And so he's like, yeah. And so I take it, I'm like, and she's in her green room, I'm like, hey, Peppa, I got the Hennessy. She's like, oh my God. So I'm wearing a different outfit. So we had some Hennessy together.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, let's get a picture of us. So then I had two pictures. We're both wearing different outfits. So we invited her to this party. She came to the party, and I was like, I get it. We're wearing different outfits then, because I was like, I'm going to get pictures and just post these over time to make it look like we hang out all the time because we're wearing different outfits. Anyway, and then the next year I ran into her again. We hung out again.
And she remembered you.
She remembered me.
I think that's what I remember.
She's super nice, and I'm a huge fan, obviously. So
yeah. Classic.
Meanwhile, TLC, as any of my friends who've known me since the 90s can attest, I'm a huge TLC fan to this day. And Chili is my all-time celebrity crush. And in like the fall of 2019, I'd never met her or anything like that, and I got a DM from her on Instagram, and she's like, "Hey," and I was like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" Like, and then we were just chatting, and I was like, "Oh, when are you guys performing?" She's like, "Oh, we're in New York now." So I was like, "I want to come." So I went, and I was doing a show. I ran over after my show to go see them, and then I saw them, and I met her and T-Boz, and it was an amazing show. And it turns out I was like, how the hell does she know I exist? But you can't ask that because you're going to seem not cool.
Yeah.
And, which has, so
gotta stay cool.
It's like, so then she's like, oh, it just came up. She's like, oh, I saw you on this show, Comedy Knockout, on True TV. And I was like, you watch it? She's like, yeah, I just saw you on Saturday. And so I just decided to write and say, hey, because I like you on that show. I was like, oh my gosh. And anyway, so we kept in touch, and then she's so great, and but no, never dated either one. It's just absolute.
But still,
friends.
yeah, cross paths. Dave, you were the coolest. You're touring with Tenacious D. You're friends with Chili from TLC and Salt and Pepper. I mean, come on, man.
This is my favorite thing. I post. You know how your iPhone will be like, remember this photo? So one of me and Peppa came up. So it's happened twice now. So I just repost them, just to be silly. And Chili saw it. She's like, "Okay, Dave, now I'm watching you." She said these things, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that someone would have told little Dave Hill from Cleveland that one day, be in a picture with Peppa, and Chili would be like, I'm watching you." So it was more than I could have ever dreamed of accomplishing in life, ever.
I mean, that right there, that makes you the coolest cat of all time, Dave. That makes you the coolest cat of all time.
Luckiest
Tell people,
cat.
Luckiest cat. And I'm lucky to have you here on the Cannabis Coffee Hour. Tell people where your Instagram is, and then we'll sign off.
You can, Mr. Dave Hill, at Mr. Dave Hill. That's my Instagram. That's my TikTok. That's my Twitter. Not that I really use Twitter that much.
I killed my Twitter.
Well, I don't really go on it, but someone said don't kill it, just let it fester, so no one can come and take your handle.
I know, that's true.
That's what someone told me, so I'm just letting it, I'm parking it.
That's probably smart.
And I'm on Threads, though. I really want to lead less of a life on my phone.
Yeah, social media, we all know it's scrambling everybody's brain a little bit.
It's totally...
I have a couple jokes about how you just got to get it down to one.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm going to be the first comedian that blows up from Pinterest.
From LinkedIn.
From LinkedIn. Just go hard in the paint with LinkedIn, dude.
I just want enough money, not even that much money, to just...
Never be on there.
If I have enough, I'd be like, okay, I can survive the next however long I'm going to live, and then I will delete everything and never be heard from again.
But your Instagrams are great, and you enjoyed playing the guitar on some of those things.
Oh, yeah. No, it's fun to do, but it's just, it's a slippery slope of, going and then you can't...
Ego, mind trip,
I try to not scroll because I want to see stuff, but you also... I feel like scrolling...
Sucks you in.
Scrolling only ends in bad feelings. You go, oh, puppy, oh my gosh, that's a cool guitar. Oh my gosh, that's a pretty girl.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, my friend is doing something. Why aren't I doing that? And you can be happy for them, but you're like, oh, I want a Netflix special. I want this and that, and just stupid shit that you go... I do the same thing, and your brain spins, and if you didn't have that, you wouldn't be thinking those thoughts. That's what I'm like, oh, I just spun out for 20 minutes, and if I would have just been looking at this tree right here, I would have been just hanging out in the moment.
But yeah, and I'm getting better at not judging other, but I struggle with it too, dude. And Instagram and social media, it makes you like, oh, look at that. I'm trying to do like a month, like not touch it right now with the strike and everything, like work on my writings and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But at the same time, promo, like you blow, you know, some of your Instagrams, you playing against John Mayer, which is one of the funniest things ever.
Oh, thank you.
You're trolling John Mayer a bit, even though we're a big fan of Deadco here at the Cannabis Coffee Hour.
I don't
Hopefully
do
I'll go
it
out
to
and-
make fun of him. I just do it like because it's absurd. Like,
Have you ever run into? You might have run into him.
we have mutual friends, but I've never met him. And people are like, oh, has he ever seen? I would hope if he saw it, he would see it as funny and not think that I was making fun of him, because I'm not.
Yeah, you're kind of.
I'm always like, I don't think that I do anything to make fun of other people.
No, you're not evil that way. You're not malicious that way.
No, I just want to be stupid, you know?
Yeah.
And it's very easy to be stupid.
Yeah.
I was born that way. No.
Stupid dumb in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Deaf. All right, man. You're the best. Dave.
Thank you.
We'll wrap it up with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. Peace and one love, everybody. We're out.